and we're going to be discussing about how to keep it cool, or how to avoid crisis-based leadership in decisions at work and life. I know, the title is a very big mouthful, but in reality, it just means that don't panic. First, you should know a little bit of who I am, or who am I. I've been a software engineer for over 15 years. I started pretty young. I've been 7+ years as a manager. I am the head of the Android and Flutter department at DPPL. I am officially a software engineering team leader at EPAM. Yeah. And last but not least, I actually am an iOS developer. And if you ever played Among Us, there is always the imposter, right? That gets you on the ducts. And this just means that, if you can beat them, join them. Yeah. As an iOS developer, it's been actually extremely important. And this is just a little bit, tidbit of what I want to say, that adversity breeds progress, right? At the beginning, I was very terrified of heading a department where I don't have the technical skill that my subordinates do. And in reality, this is precisely what made me grow a lot as a manager. So this is just like a quick note. Please challenge yourselves and put yourselves out of your comfort zone. Now, moving on to the presentation. The goal here is to promote a lot of reflection. You need to not think about roles per se. You need to think not about, specific people. This is not about being judgmental. This is not about shaming. This is not about anger. This is about analysis, reflection, how you poise yourself. It's about communication. It's about empathy, right? We all look at things from different perspectives. And again, you will see why this matters. One thing I have always said in my presentations is that I don't really, promote software engineering. I really like people engineering, because at the heart of every problem and solution, there is people, right? What is a computer without a programmer, a developer, a designer, whatever, if you will? It's nothing. It will just sit there and do nothing. So I really urge you to take a breather and understand. I promise this is not going to go like deep into philosophy and you will understand nothing what I mean. Okay. Let's start with something very simple. I think it's important that we're aligned on the same page. What is the difference between a boss and a leader? You. No, I'm kidding. Now that you're all on edge. Yeah, exactly. I trapped you. I baited you. Okay. But in all seriousness, does anyone want to say what is the difference between a boss and a leader? Yes, sir.
Boss just order, boss just order, and leader leads him.
Perfect. So if I can borrow my colleague's words and expand on it a little bit, the boss relies, allow me if I'm right, a boss relies on authority and power, right? Anybody could be your boss if they are, let's say, on top of you on the org chart or whatever, right? But it's your boss. You do as you're told. That's the mindset, yeah? Whereas a leader, let's think about someone who actually you feel passion or motivation or inspiration by that person. A leader is someone you want to follow almost naturally. It's someone who maybe aligns with your values, with your ideals or whatever. Keep in mind, this does not need to happen necessarily. You might not be inspired by your leader, but you still don't want to disappoint. And it's very important that this driving force is established in your units and in the way that you conduct yourself and people around you, especially if you are in a leadership position, because you don't want people to do things just because you say, hey, I told you so. You want them to do it even before you ask them, because they know that's what you need. And this is really good. Now, not to expand too much on this topic, I would recommend you read a book by James C. Hunter called The Servant. I don't really like this title. It's called The True Essence of Leadership. I prefer the Portuguese translated title in Brazil. It's called The Monk and the Executive. So that really paints the difference of the picture. Now that we got that out of the way, we're going to talk about a few things and I'll wrap it all up at the end. We're going to start with urgent versus important. Now, not everything that is urgent is important. And I know it sounds really dumb. I'm just repeating what's on the slides. And you're like, really? Not everything that's important is urgent. And the thing is, you need to agree with people, whoever it is that you work, live, collaborate, on what these things are and when they are necessary. What is urgent, what is important. And I'm going to give what might be my last day alive. So this is the maybe personal husband and wife story, but, I'm not saying it's obvious who it is, but hypothetically, if I don't come home alive tonight, the detectives will find really easily who did it. What you see here on your left is an empty sink, which means the dishwasher was run. And see, this wife in particular, she feels that it's very urgent and very important to do the dishes every day before going to sleep. Every day, no matter what. Whereas the husband, thinks that it's important, but it's not that urgent, Maybe some of you guys, usually more men, is like, oh, I'm just soaking. Yeah, you leave it soaking for a couple of hours or a couple of days, like, it'll come off naturally. So, in my opinion, it is important to run the dishwasher and have the dishes and have the sink clean, but it's not urgent. So then there is this conundrum. Before going to sleep, my wife always wants to run the dishwasher. And she gets very, tense if I don't do it. And I say, there are 2 cups on a 60-liter dishwasher. And this is where I appeal to your common sense. Let's think about it. Should I run a 60-liter dishwasher for 2 cups? And you're like, seems like a waste, doesn't it? You could just hand wash it. I see some people laughing, like, dude, stop laughing. You might not make it alive. And again, this sounds like a very silly example, but if you abstract the fact that it's a household situation, that it's a husband and wife, whatever, if you will understand that for her, it was very, very important psychologically to sleep with the dishes being clean, with the dishwasher running, with the sink being pristine. For me, it wasn't that important. Oh, it was kind of important, but it wasn't urgent. I could do it in the morning. I had pleasure waking up and taking care of it. So we had to agree on what was urgent and what was important. Now, I'm going to give you now a little bit of a more professional, if you will, backstory. Imagine we have a developer. Again, I won't mention who it is, but imagine that you have a developer who is very dedicated to his job. Again, don't think about the roles, think about the situation. This person is always writing code. They're always trying to make everything perfect. They want the code to build with 0 warnings. Like even those stupid, deprecated, no longer used, one day we'll have to update silly warning. I need to do it. I need to do it. I need to do it. And this person works really hard. Really, really hard. They really care. Really, really care. However, you need to know that this is how this person sees themselves, right? And when you say, wait, I think this guy is not prepared for this presentation because they're the same picture. What is the difference? What is the difference between hacker man and hacker man? And this is the part where I'll actually invite you again to reflect on the situation. This person is very dedicated. They work very hard, even if the things that they hold urgent or important that's dear to them might not resonate with you. Now, if we are to analyze this person's situation, this is what we get. What does the manager of Hackerman thinks of Hackerman or woman? They think they're an absolute menace. Think about this. If you are, it could be a tech lead as well, but I'm going with manager here. There is always that person that says we have a problem. On stand-up, we have a problem. On sprint planning, we have a problem. This cannot be done. I cannot deliver this. Yada, yada, yada. There's always a problem. But you see, that's what you hear. For the other developers, Hackerman, who puts out 100 pull requests per day, he's an absolute unit. They want to grow up and be just like this person. The productivity is off the roof. They are on top of their game. They know absolutely everything about the code base, the design guidelines, everything. This person is unrelentless, right? Then you have the poor QAs, which have to test every single change that Hackerman does. And they are just begging for their lives. They cannot take it any longer. I mean, theoretically, in our sprint that's lasting 2 weeks, we should have 30 story points. This guy did 300. They are about to explode. And then there's the tech lead that needs to review all of Hackerman's pull requests. And while he has to do his own job, lead the team, take care of the infrastructure, maybe the pipeline, maybe the CI, maybe meet with the client, etc., 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 they still have to review 100 pull requests from Hackerman. So he's basically looking for a new job while doing it because he's so tired. And at the last but not least, we have HR, who is extremely worried about how many burnout trainings Hackerman has completed, because this is obviously not sustainable. Again, maybe some of you are thinking, I have no clue where he's going with this. And if you don't, that's fine. I'm here to try to guide you. But some of you might already have glimpsed into what I'm trying to say. This person is only able to raise 100 pull requests per day. Keep in mind, doesn't matter the metric, doesn't matter, just abstract, because they care. If someone is taking their time, whenever it is, to change every single localizable string that's wrong, to fix translation issues, to fix padding, many people will say it is not urgent and it's not important. But that does not change the fact that this person cares deeply about their work, that they are a professional. And if you would sit with Hackerman and try to do an improvement plan or try to discuss their career, they wouldn't feel recognized. And they care so much. I hope you guys are feeling the words when I say it, that how many times have you not gone through something extremely difficult and extremely intricate, and you feel like you haven't seen or appreciated for your effort, only for your manager to say, why are you bringing me problems? This is not part of this release. But you are flagging something that will be a part of every single release after. And you didn't feel heard. So this is something I want you to ponder on, because we have some characters in our story. And this is the general person who works in IT but doesn't really know how they got hired in the first place, because they know nothing about IT and they don't even know the difference between a web view and a native screen app. And you're saying, wow, Guy, that's really long. Good job. Thank you. The reason for this is, and again, this comes a lot from personal experience and also from talking to colleagues. This is the typical stand-up call at between 9 and 10 a.m. Everyone's sort of doozy and sleepy. And usually a product owner or somebody will say, we need to fix this screen. And you have 10, 15, 20, however many technical people involved. And they'll say, hey, PO, this is a web view. And it's not really native app territory. And I'm quite certain it's from another team, which is within your company. And they're like, yeah, but we need it fixed. You're going to fix it? But we need it fixed. What? Why aren't you fixing it? Oh my God. You guys are so stubborn. Raise the PR. Do the thing. Do the rigamajinga with the computer. And doesn't work that way. And see, this is where you need to be emotionally intelligent, and you also need to obviously be open to educating other people. Even though this person doesn't even know the difference between a web view and a native screen, you are still obviously, right? Hopefully being professional, keeping a straight face and saying, listen, I'm gonna tell you something that might destroy your world, but this is not my problem. And they will react with that little Pikachu, like, And that's because they don't know any better. And you're supposed to educate them. And you're supposed to say, if you try to push this on us, you're going to break the team. You are going to demotivate every person, because if every day on stand up you're asking us to fix something, we physically have no access to the code base. It's not even our tech stack. We don't have the skill set to fix this. We don't have the access to fix this. So again, I can see in your minds that your gears are turning and you can visualize the scenario, whereas you want me to fix a problem that is not ours, and I have no access and I have no credentials and I can't even reach this place, but you're still asking me to fix it. Oh my God. And this is when a disconnect happens between the team and the leaders, right? Then we have the Omega hero. So the hero, it's a bit complicated. I don't know if you guys have been this person. I have been this person. I will admit my own fault. And the hero is a bit interesting character. It is about when you're so used to doing things fast and you're good at what you do, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that, sometimes you skip steps. So maybe I'm going to do something very risky here, but how many of you have actually started integrating a framework, SDK, whatever, if you will, or doing something before reading the documentation? Raise it higher. Don't be shy. Now, how many of you found out that when it didn't work, and you're like, oh my God, I've built every way 1,000,000,000 times. I've changed everything, all the variables. Is it the configuration object? Is it the API key? Oh, I'm crying. And then you read the documentation where it says step 1, how to integrate our SDK. You need to change a compiler flag. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know you understand. I know. I can see you. So these kind of things are tricky, because you will go to daily stand-up and you will say, oh my God, this SDK is garbage. This framework doesn't work. These people have no idea what they're doing. I hate them. I hate their existence. I wish them gone. And then you read the documentation and you find out, oh wait, I was wrong all the time, the whole time. And see, for other people, you're going to be a hero. You complained a lot about their SDK, about their framework, about whatever, only to find out that, oh my God, you fixed it? You fixed it? No way. You're a genius. You're a god. You're a god among gods. And you'll be like, yeah, I fixed it. So if you ever receive that credit, which was undue, you know how it feels. And you know that it's not so proper. It feels bad. And it teaches you a very important lesson, right? To read the documentation. Now, this is how it feels, right? When you're the hero. This is literally how it feels. You're going to be sitting there thinking, oh my God, I am so good. I am so good. I'm totally going to get a bonus, an overtime, a promotion, whatever. And see, this is the part where it takes a bit of a dark turn, because this can be artificial or not. Some people, such as in our case, it could be an honest mistake. It could be that we really missed something on the documentation. Maybe it was missing, etc. But sometimes it could be that someone intentionally likes to overplay the situation. How many people have been on like sprint planning meeting and somebody said, what is the effort that it takes to change a localized string in the application? And what your tech lead will usually say is, if it's anything more than 1, this person is crazy. And there was somebody be like, 13. And you're like, no, just no. There's no way you're going to take like 3 sprints, like 300 hours to change a string. Granted, your localization framework can be difficult. It can be complex, but it will never be that complex. So you need some honesty here. Now, moving on from urgent and important, we have evidence and emotion. And this is where things get a bit tricky and dicey, because people are, well, people. They have emotions. They are prone to being angry, sad, not sleeping too much, being extremely nervous, etc. And usually when you face these scenarios is between a QA and a developer. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You just sit there in the office and you can clearly see the QA stand up and walk to the developer's desk. And he says, hey, this doesn't work. And he's like, does on my machine. And you're like, yeah, but doesn't work for me. And then the battle begins and you're just watching from afar, all hell break loose, because usually the QA is asking for evidence. He's saying, okay, but you gave me a build where something, whatever, is broken. It no longer functions. What do you want me to say? I'm here to test it. I need to do this, and this is now broken. I need the evidence that what you did didn't break it. And the developer, since he's the author of such change, could be very emotional about it. Like, what are you saying? I made a mistake? Are you saying I broke the entire application? Are you saying the warning that shows up when I'm compiling is my fault? And then they start escalating. And in these cases, you have to be very careful. And I'll show you with a personal and a professional example of this. For example, are you the kind of person that when you're in the airport, do you either arrive one day earlier and sleep next to the boarding gate to make sure you'll be there on time? Like, those very fidgety people, like, oh my God, it's 3 hours and 75 minutes until boarding. Let's go, get the taxi. Or are you the kind of person, I personally have only met one person which can actually do this. I only board 15 minutes before. Literally, when it says gate closing, I run to the gate. If you're that kind of person that can live with such emotion, congratulations. You are very brave, but you're also very efficient because you don't let the emotion get ahead of you. You are acting based on evidence. If you see the panel and it says boarding, you think, so what? Am I going to go and stand in line? Now, this is the scenario of the non-technical manager that will blame the very last creator of the pull request that broke everything, the world, the banking system, etc. This character here, you understand, is basically the person that says, the only thing I know is that Bob merged his pull request. He heard it in the stand-up. And let's say the entire backend now is, let's say UAT is down. Let's talk about the environment. UAT is down. And this guy will say, Bob, the Android developer, Bob, why is UAT down? If you're a technical person, you know that this is absurd. So this person will continuously push Bob to the brink of, Bob, it must have been your changes. Whatever you did with material design or fragments or whatever, you broke UAT, Bob. You're a criminal. You're worse than a criminal. You're a double criminal. And Bob is sitting there like, oh my God, how little can this person know? Because the only evidence that they have is that the very last pull request and the very last build is the one that doesn't work. So Bob does what Bob does best. Bob says, you know what? Have you tried turning it off and on again? And trying in like a couple of hours? And the person will say, no, I did it. And I refuse. I want it done now. So Bob will do what's called a pro gamer move. Bob is going to say, have you tried accessing this from not the application? And then the person will try and it will be offline and they'll say, oh, the server is down. The environment is down. Sorry, Bob. Again, this is how we lose people. Bob can be extremely demotivated with this. Bob doesn't need this kind of energy. Bob doesn't need to be nudged immediately, urgently. Hey, you need to fix this. It's not even his responsibility. He's not even the culprit. He's not even the real culprit for this. Maybe there isn't even a culprit, but people tend to believe there is. So again, when you're confronted with someone that's emotional, you should accept their emotion. You can understand why this person might be emotionally distressed, but you should also demand their evidence, which means causing panic does not breed productivity. I hope you haven't been in such environment, but it is very common. A lot of people think that the more we raise the alarm bells, the more people will work harder, the more they will believe in the task they're doing. And it's quite frankly the opposite. Bob could have been a detractor. Bob could have hidden his pull request. Bob could have refused to cooperate. Bob wouldn't say, hey, listen, I'm going to prove to you A plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. This is how this happened. And when you do this, you break people, and you don't want to break people. The third most important thing would be who benefits from this. As I showed you with the slide, with the medal, right, with the Obama medal, the meme, it's very important to know who benefits from a crisis. If it's done naturally, it is fine, it happens, but sometimes it's artificial. Again, remember the hero developer. Oh, there's always a problem and I'm always fixing it. I'm the greatest person ever. As I'm telling you, it might be disingenuous behavior or it might be due to lack of knowledge, as the manager that thought that Bob broke everything. Now, there are three things that are, let's say, important on a crisis. Who raised it? Who solved it? And the person who raised it and solved it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen these two in the same room. I suspect that they might be the same person. Clark Kent is a journalist, and you would think his job is to tell people what's going on. But when Metropolis, sorry for those of you who are not nerds, when the city is being attacked, Clark doesn't stop to report on what's happening. Clark suits up and goes to solve the problem. And the irony is someone else will report what Clark did. What does this tell you? This tells you that it is more important sometimes just stopping and solving the problem, going at it, rather than talking about it. And I'm sure many of you have been in a situation where people talked. There were so many meetings and spikes and escalations and daily syncs, etc. When all this time, you could have put 5 people in the same call, done a little investigation, end to end, and it would be done. And I know for a fact that this has happened to you. And a few real world scenarios, if we can go quickly. Orson Welles, if you know this, there was a radio broadcast on a news report segment that was real life tidbits. And this fictional reading of War of the Worlds by Orson Welles, everybody believed that there was an alien invasion in New Jersey. We are 80 years after this happened. And back then, people thought it was a big deal that it was really happening. And now we already saw, no, it's not true. It's a hoax. Do you know the person who benefited the most from apparently spreading misinformation about people believing this? Mr. Orson Welles. He made a lot of money. Paperless office revolution in the 1990s up to the 2000s. Again, my age is showing. There would be no paper. I ask you today, it's 2025. The people who said there would be no paper, who do you think benefited from that, right? Digitization companies, printers, copiers, yeah, EMCs, yeah. Then we have Y2K. Now I'm really showing my age. If you remember the Millennium Bug, you would know that a lot of consulting firms made a lot of money on this, remediation and testing companies. Again, this is not a bad thing. What I'm trying to show you is there are real crises, right? There's real crises. People will profit from that, and it's okay. But you cannot overplay it or invent it just to benefit from it. This becomes a bit of an ethical issue, and I won't touch on that, but I want you to understand, take a deep breath, a calm breath, and think about it. So as an emotionally responsible professional, here are the things I want you to do. I want you to make sure that every time you are having a conversation with anybody, whoever it is, personal or professional, when you're going to discuss something, you need to have an understanding on what's important and what is urgent between the two of you, right? Some people get flustered if you call on the phone and you don't pick up immediately. Oh, you only picked up on the last ring. Not cool. Always respect people's emotions. If someone is angry, remember that they might not be angry at you, but you can fight back and say, I only accept evidence. Think about the QA and the developer. I'm not saying you shouldn't be frustrated, but I need to see that your code didn't break the build. I want you to reflect who's a crisis, if it's a crisis, and who benefits from it. This is very important when dealing with, let's say, bad actors. And if you are truly leading, when you call, people will answer. So, as a decision framework, this is just a takeaway slide for you guys to remember. Urgent versus important, evidence versus emotion, who benefits from a crisis, and you should always preserve resources for real emergencies. What does this mean in one line? If you have an employee or a subordinate that always is willing to do overtime, they want to fix everything, it's like, hey, can you do this? Can you take a look at this? This is very important. Please, 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 please. Remember the fable in English, which is called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. You will always tell this person that this is very important, and they will work maybe a little extra hours for you, a few minutes, etc., etc., etc. And the day where something really serious happens, you will say, hey, can you help me out? And this person will say, what? No. You ask me every Friday to do something really important, and then I want to follow you. I want you to lead me. I believe in you. But every time you tell me something is urgent or important or it's a crisis, I'll go and do it. And it's every Friday. There's no way every Friday we have a crisis. This is how you break trust. This is how you push people away. This is how you don't lead people. So save it for when you need it. Only cry wolf if there's a real wolf. So the sky is rarely falling, but when it is, you want people to believe you. So choose your emergencies wisely. Thank you very much for sitting through my presentation. Hope you didn't fall asleep. That's all.